All right, y'all, we've made it to the top 5 Vols of the last 40 years. And checking in at number 5 is Peerless Price. Peerless Price played between the years of 1995 to 1998. Peerless comes from Dayton, Ohio. And, man, he had a great career at Tennessee. Outside of 1995, which was his freshman year, he was a key contributor in 96, 97, and 98. He had 2,298 yards receiving in his career at Tennessee. He was a second-team All-SEC selection. In that 1998 season, he had 920 yards receiving in that season, a team that predominantly ran the ball. So every time he got the ball, he had to make it count, and boy, did he ever. He's the reason we won the Syracuse game. He's the reason we won the Florida game that year, Georgia, Arkansas, and the SEC championship game. He caught a big touchdown to put us ahead in the fourth quarter. And obviously the national championship game, which he was the MVP, he had 199 yards receiving on 4 catches. 4 catches. He made those 4 catches count. So I cannot think of all that meant more to one football team than Peerless Price did to the 1998 Tennessee Vols. He just did everything, and he was a great, great Vol, and he is number 5 on our list. Peerless Price.
T. Martin has been put on the ground 11 times tonight. But as many times as usual when you're playing Florida State, that ball going down the sidelines is caught. Peerless Price. It's touchdown. There are no flags. The longest play of the year, 79 yards.
And checking in at number 4 of the top 25 Vols of the last 40 years is Al Wilson. Al Wilson is the best linebacker in my lifetime. Don't know if we'll ever see another Al Wilson. He was just that good. And he wasn't just a great ball player as far as making plays on the field. He was that, but his leadership was even at another level. Al Wilson made sure that the defense was in the correct alignment every play. He made sure guys did what they needed to be doing on and off the field, and he was a great football player, period, in every facet of it. Al Wilson played between the years of 1995 to 1998. In those 4 years, he was a 3-year starter. He was a starter from 96, 97, and 98. And he played a lot on the 95 team. He just wasn't a starter. But in 1997 and 1998, he was a first-team All-SEC selection. And in 1998, he was a first-team All-American. He's also a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. Al Wilson, man, it is just the memories that flood back to me about Al Wilson. I think the number one memory I remember about Al Wilson is how he kind of single-handedly won that Florida game in 98. He forced 3 fumbles, or Florida would have won that game, no doubt. He was all over the field all the time. It was so hard to run on that 98 team, in large part due to him and that defensive line and the linebackers. But Al Wilson was the leader and the best player of the bunch on that team. But of the last 40 years, I don't know of a better leader that Tennessee has ever had than Al Wilson. He is the reason that we won the national championship in 1998, just strictly from a leadership standpoint, and also his playmaking ability, where he could get after the quarterback, after he could stop the run. There was no weakness in Al Wilson's game, and we were lucky to have Al Wilson, and he is very worthy of being number 4 on this list of the top 25 Vols of the last 40 years. Number 4, Al Wilson.
Travis McGriff and Travis Taylor on the same side. It's hard to cover those 2 guys. 2nd and 10. A blitz up the middle. A pass incomplete. Al Wilson having a monster night for Tennessee. Put the hit on Palmer. Al Wilson comes right up the middle again, and he's unblocked. Number 27. He just steps up into the A-gap. Nobody picks him up.
and he's so quick that he just gets there. Steve Spurrier trying to get time out to change the play. Can't get it done.
They didn't see him, and he has asked for a timeout again to talk about this big third down play.
And checking in at number 3 of the top 25 Vols of the last 40 years is none other than Eric Berry. Eric Berry may be the most decorated Tennessee Vol of all time with the awards that was given out to Eric Berry. Eric Berry was only at Tennessee for 3 years, but every year he was there, he was just heavily decorated with SEC Player of the Weeks, even from his true freshman year on. Eric Berry is a 2-time All-American in 2008, 2009. He was a SEC Freshman Defensive Player of the Year in 2007. He won the Jim Thorpe Award in 2009. He won the Jack Tatum Award in 2008 and 2009. Both of those trophies go to the best defensive back in the country. Eric Berry's numbers are just staggering. He in 2008, he had 487 INT return yards to go along with 72 tackles. And that was probably his best year with Tennessee. That's where he was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year in 2008. He was really the only bright spot about that 2018. And you know, his freshman year, he had 86 tackles, which led all freshmen in the country that year. In 2009, when Monty Kiffin took over as the defensive coordinator, he moved Eric to strong safety, where it took away a lot of his INTs, but it improved his tackling numbers. In 2009, his INTs went down. He only had 2 interceptions, but he had 87 tackles. He was just a physical specimen. If you remember the hit that he put on Tim Tebow, and he could come up, make a hit, he could make an interception. You know, Eric Berry had no weaknesses, and anybody that played against Eric Berry will tell you he was one of the all-time greats. So very worthy of being number 3 on this list, and that is Eric Berry of the top 25 Vols of the last 40 years. Eric Berry.
Shade clock here in the fourth quarter. As we go up on 9 minutes to play, the pitch. Guess who? Marino. Doesn't need a lot of... Oh! He took a weapon at the 37-yard line.
All right, now we're at number 2 of the top 25 Vols of the last 40 years, and it is Reggie White. Reggie White played between the years of 1980 to 1983. Reggie was really a 4-year starter. I think he became a starter like halfway through his freshman year, and he was a starter the rest of his career. And he was just solid from day one. He was hampered by injuries his junior year, but even in his junior year when he was injured some, he still had a year that a lot of people would envy with the stats he had even in his junior season where he was injured. But 1981, he had 96 tackles from defensive end position, 96 tackles from a defensive end. That is just insane. And a multitude of sacks that year. I think he had like 10 sacks his sophomore season. His senior season was one, though, that even Philip Fulmer was quoted as saying was the most dominant performance he's ever seen from a defensive player that he's ever seen. 1983. It was a year that, in my opinion, too, it's a year that no Tennessee defensive player has matched yet in the last 40 years by far. In 1983, Reggie White had 15 sacks, which is still a school record. He had 100 tackles. From a defensive lineman, there's a lot of linebackers that don't get 100 tackles in the NFL when they were playing 15, 16, 17 game season. He did that from a defensive end position. He was the 1983 SEC Player of the Year. His 4 sacks against the Citadel that year is still a school record, where he had 4 sacks. So it's tied with Corey Miller, but he's tied for a school record. He is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's also a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. Reggie White is the greatest defensive end in NFL history, in my opinion. He's the greatest defensive end in Tennessee school history. So, number 2 of the top 25 Vols of the last 40 years is Reggie White.
Defensive lineman to the inside, and he's beating the head of the offensive offensive lineman that's trying to come down and block him, and they're just going to have to start cutting him off.
And checking in at number 1 of the top 25 Vols of the last 40 years is Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning played between the years of 1994 to 1997 as a quarterback. He had a 39-6 record as a starter. He was the SEC Freshman of the Year in 1994. He was the SEC Player of the Year in 1997. He was a first team. He was SEC first team 1995 and 1997. He was SEC second team 1996. He was a first team All-American in 1997. He led us to the SEC championship game where we won, and that was the first time we'd won the SEC in 7 years. He was a Davey O'Brien Award winner. He was the Maxwell Award winner. And the list just go on and on for Peyton Manning. He is the greatest quarterback in Tennessee history, not just of the last 40 years, but he's the greatest quarterback in Tennessee history, period. He went on to the NFL, and he was numerous times first-team All-Pro, numerous times second-team All-Pro. He won the MVP award 5 times. He is a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. He is a member of the NFL Hall of Fame. So the list go on and on for Peyton Manning. Just a great player, and he's very deserving of being the number 1 Vol of the last 40 years. Peyton Manning.
3rd down. Manning goes straight ahead. He didn't go down, so he rolls out of the pocket and throws it in the end zone for a touchdown. Marcus Nash, good heavens. There's another one for the highlight reel. He got stood up in the middle of the line, but nobody locked off on it.
Philip Fulmer's given an expression on the sideline that he couldn't believe what he saw either. I wasn't watching Peyton Manning, I was watching the wide receivers.
He had the presence of mind. His knee didn't go down. He didn't hear a whistle.